anyone and everyone can and should learn how to code. The skills are transferable across every industry, every discipline. There's always room for you here, particularly for my ladies looking to get into tech and data. We want you, we need you, let's do it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Kubrick Voices. I'm very excited today to be joined by a couple of people from Kubrick's partner network, the founding team behind Prometheus, an organization designed to help private sector talent give back to the public sector and not-for-profits. So today I'm joined by Victoria and Margaret from Prometheus. Hello both, welcome.
Awesome. Hi.
Pleasure. Thanks for joining us in the virtual studio. Before we kick off, Victoria, introduce yourself, and Margaret, what are your roles at Prometheus, and a little bit about your backgrounds.
For sure, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us, Camilla. It's been great getting to know the Kubrick team and working with such fantastic data consultants. I'm CEO at Prometheus, and we are a learning platform that helps students and professionals develop technical skills and gain work experience to excel in their careers. And we do that through project-based work with nonprofits. And just as a bit of background, as a corporate lawyer originally, I saw firsthand how pro bono and project-based work for nonprofit clients not only supported organizations in need, but also paid enormous dividends in my own skills development. I then spent a number of years working at Robin Hood, New York's largest poverty fighting organization. And I can speak a bit more about that later, but basically through that work saw the incredible efforts of nonprofits in our city, the huge potential in leveraging private sector talent and resources for the public good, and of course, insights into technical and capacity building needs of nonprofit partners. And nonprofits really do account for over $2 trillion of our economy and are critical to helping communities thrive.
That's incredible. And I think, first thoughts with Kubrick, we're always interested about people that come from non-technical backgrounds, find themselves in tech. That's pretty much, that's myself. That's a lot of other people at Kubrick. So I'm sure we'll get into all that and how you came to move from corporate law into technology. But I think we'll all agree it's a space that just needs people, creative, different thinkers to come into the space and kind of shake things up. So we'll get into all that. Margaret, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and really couldn't agree more about that in the technology space. But yeah, Margaret Smiley. I lead data and operations for Prometheus, and what that meant with working with Kubrick is that I got the opportunity and pleasure to work with consultants directly on 3 separate nonprofit projects in the data and analytics space. And very similar to what you mentioned, I have spent the last 10 years in the technology space, building data analytics teams, data engineering teams, but didn't come from a technology background or education. I actually learned on the job. And I think, just want to resonate that it's so important and unique to the space that people are coming in through diverse backgrounds and different pathways into the sector. And it's important to leverage that creativity. And I saw that firsthand prior to working with Prometheus in developing social justice hackathons. So in New York City, I worked directly with the city government, local nonprofits, and the technology sector to connect technologists to the issue areas that mattered most. And there really is a hunger to find ways to give back, find ways to engage in meaningful work. And really, I think that's why I'm so excited about what we were able to accomplish with Kubrick in partnering with nonprofit projects as well.
100%. And speaking of bringing that fresh talent in, we're also joined by Bromley, one of Kubrick's data product consultants here at Kubrick, and I'd say a cornerstone of the projects that we completed with Prometheus. So Bromley, also welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to Kubrick.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm so happy to be here today. So my name is Bromley, and I'm a data product consultant here with Kubrick Group. And I am certainly one of those people that you were just discussing who came from a non-technical background and just kind of found themselves in the data and tech atmosphere. My degree and educational background is actually in design and sustainability, which I think it may seem kind of incongruous with data and tech, but I've certainly found the opposite to be true thus far at Kubrick. I came across Kubrick just in my postgraduate work search, and although I was definitely hesitant to lean into tech and data, or a little bit intimidated, honestly, I knew that expanding my tech and business intelligence skill set would ultimately help me to further my career goals. And Kubrick has just been a really great launching point for my career, and connecting with Prometheus has been one of the greatest blessings thus far in my Kubrick journey.
That's amazing. And yeah, again, touching on the idea of intimidation, another theme I'm sure we're destined to come back around to when it comes to tech, and hopefully how some of the work that Prometheus does also helps to lift some of that for the volunteers and tech people getting into their projects. So let's jump in. Victoria, how did you come to found Prometheus? Let's start at the beginning of the journey.
So at Prometheus, we're really tackling a two-sided problem. One of a tech talent pipeline, and the second of a digital skills gap. Students, we are finding, can't get hired for competitive roles because they don't have real world experience. But of course, they can't get real world experience without getting jobs. If you fast forward, 5 years, when it comes to achieving promotions or jumping ahead in their careers, professionals face similar challenges, even in as sought after a field as data and tech. They can't get promoted without showing they have the skills for more expansive roles, but are rarely given opportunities to flex those muscles in the day-to-day. So through project-based work with social good partners, largely nonprofit organizations, we're providing students and professionals with real-world experience, client-based projects to develop those hard and soft skills. On the other side, we're seeing that there's a digital skills gap. It's in the private sector, it's in the public sector, but because nonprofits on average spend 4 times less than for-profits on technology, because there's just a lack of resources, this gap is much wider in the nonprofit sector. So by offering project-based support through connections to talented students and professionals, we're providing nonprofit partners with tools and also language needed to bolster investments in tech talent and data tools, and to recognize this type of planning as important infrastructure investment, not simply overhead.
Bromley, over to you. What did you expect coming into tech? Did you think pro bono was going to be a part of it, and how has that helped your kind of spark your interest and continued growth within tech? Now you're at kind of at the start of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely didn't know that pro bono in tech was a thing, and so to have this opportunity was really really exciting. Particularly just to have the opportunity to work in a more meaningful capacity. Not that corporate work isn't meaningful, because it absolutely is, but I do think that moving outside that box of just your own corporate structure, your internal projects, your client projects, is it's really exciting to be able to take those ideas someplace else and know that it's having an immeasurably bigger impact, for someone who has a lower budget, but the stakes are really high. And yeah, so it was wonderful to have this Prometheus opportunity. I was really really excited when it was presented to us.
Amazing. Let's dive into it. What are the projects? Margaret, how do you partner with an organization? How do you source those projects? And we'll get into then what Kubrick kind of worked on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any nonprofit can apply today to be part of our network on our website. We then approve that they are eligible to join our network, and then they're given a point of contact directly with us to scope projects. And so over the course of a few calls directly with the nonprofit, we're translating their needs into a clear scope of work that would be made available to our tech talent network. We worked with nonprofit partners in 3 different areas. One was a Miami-based nonprofit that provides educators and students with the tools that they need to support their computer science programs. Another one worked to raise money for the cystic fibrosis community. And the project that Bromley was on was with an organization that supports military and veterans as they're transitioning out of military service.
Oh, yeah, super broad spectrum of industries and challenges, but I'm sure the heart of the problem across all these nonprofits tends to look pretty similar, and that's just reflecting on, like you mentioned, that business challenge to tech solution translation issue is something we see in some of our biggest corporate partners and clients. So it's not surprising that it exists in the not for profit sector as well, and that kind of education piece, helping them not only get access to tech but understand business and operation challenges of tech challenges is a big hurdle to overcome. So Bromley, tell us a bit about the project you worked on. Who were the organization? Kind of what was their goals, and what challenges were you working on?
So the nonprofit that we were partnered with is called Elite Meet, which is an organization that works with transitioning military members who are coming out of service, and connecting them with employer partners, education resources, and other community members in special operations and special forces communities. So the main problem that they were looking to solve was a really long, manual, and tedious data analysis process was their current state. And so what we were looking to do was develop a repeatable data analysis function or set of procedure rules to support their job placement for the transitioning veterans. And they didn't have a way, based on their current data set, didn't have a way to get the views that they needed to accurately and appropriately help people match with the industries that they were looking to get into or the companies that they wanted to work with coming out of service. So for example, how many members were interested in applying for a role at one specific company, and how many people wanted to move to the West Coast but were currently on the East Coast, and how many people had XYZ years in service. So really just trying to get them the views necessary for them to, meet their mission.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that's also fantastic to have an organization kind of aligned with Kubrick in a way. We're trying to help people from non-traditional backgrounds transition, get the skills they need, and it's always nice to kind of be working with partners with a similar goal and aligned vision. How can we get talent moving into industries that need them and need their skills, and those transferable skills that are just as valuable as kind of traditional education routes? So I think it's awesome to see those parallels between Kubrick and Elite Meet and kind of their missions.
Absolutely.
What was sort of the most exciting part of the project? Did you surprise yourself? What did you learn kind of undertaking this, Bromley?
Yeah, a whole bunch of different things. For me, it was really exciting to be able to step into a little bit more of a leadership role on my team. Although I definitely did a lot of the development work myself as well, but to kind of serve in more of a product ownership sort of role and being able to lead communications between our team and Prometheus and the Elite Meet as our client was really exciting for me. And then I was also able to develop my technical skills further, which was really exciting. We ended up using a lot of JavaScript for our solution, and I had some experience with JavaScript previously, but in a completely different scope. So it was really exciting for me to, put my coding hat on and really get in there with JavaScript and figure out how to use it in an application for data science. So yeah, it was really
That's
interesting.
amazing. And I think that's awesome. And it's so great to hear you kind of take on that leadership hat, thinking back to your kind of hesitance and intimidation around joining tech and now having this space to try that out. You're about to head on client site soon, which is, we're sad to not have you inside Kubrick anymore, but you're going to go out and do awesome things for our clients. But how did this project kind of help get you over that line from the training now ready to client side? Do you feel more prepared? Have you kind of been able to shake
Absolutely.
some of that imposter syndrome, you might say?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this project was super instrumental in helping me build that inner confidence in I am able to work in the tech field both in a technological role and in a leadership project management sort of capacity as well. Obviously in training we do a lot of projects, but they're mostly mock projects or internal projects or things that maybe don't have a complete delivery phase. And so I think that was the biggest thing for me working with Elite Meet was really getting that experience of, okay, how are we actually going to deliver this product? We have tons of ideas, we have it built out, but how do we actually get it to you in a working state? And I think that was the biggest thing for me in terms of a confidence builder was I can actually see a project through from beginning to end and my client is happy about it. So yeah, I definitely feel a lot better than when I first stepped through Kubrick's doors. I was like, I have barely coded in my life. I know some stuff about business, um, but yeah, I think my design training really did set me up more than I expected it to for success in this field. Really, just because having that background knowledge of the design process, almost in a scientific sense. I think a lot of people hear design and think it's art, and it is art, but it's the art of science and the science of art. And so that applies in so many ways across so many disciplines and has been really helpful for me to this day. And this project really just emphasized that. And I'm excited to take this new knowledge onto client site and help someone else.
That's so gratifying to hear. One of the most exciting takeaways from teaming up with Kubrick was that all participating team members reported acquiring new skills. And as Margaret mentioned, one benefit that companies see from working on pro bono engagements is increased productivity or an uptick in engagement or retention. But what we're really excited about is this learning and professional development and what it means to have an outsized impact on your community. So as Bromley shared, and we're really excited to hear, yeah, there was some hard skills development in terms of JavaScript, mastery of, new off-the-shelf tools and data cleaning, analysis, and visualization. But what really is exciting, because these are the soft skills that are important to excelling and transitioning within companies and in the future, are kind of that stakeholder engagement and management, particularly with a non-technical audience, presentation skills, time management, product management, and as we've kind of discussed, this confidence level in what it means to kind of take ownership of a team or a project and just know that it is within grasp.
I mean, speaking of that and that partnership, Margaret, what was exciting to you about working with Kubrick? I think we kind of are working with Prometheus in a bit of a different way to how maybe other organizations go about it, because we have this unique pool of freshly trained talent to kind of plug in, 10, 20 at a time, take on some of these challenges as almost like a proof of concept for partnership and what it looks like with Prometheus. What did that look like from your side, and what were maybe some of the learnings for Prometheus as they scale, working with other organizations that you kind of hope to see?
Yeah, and you mentioned the value alignment with Elite Meat and Kubrick, and it really did feel like that same level of alignment with Prometheus. Being able to work with an organization that was not only valuing learning and development and skills development, but also squarely in the space of providing that. On top of that, just working with an organization that understood the value of community building and social impact. I think it's a lot easier to develop partnerships and grow partnerships when you have that mission alignment and that value alignment that can really kick you off. But yeah, to your point, working directly with Kubrick consultants was definitely the highlight. of all the projects. What was great to have was dedicated consultants and a team of consultants on each project that were able to, one, collaborate together. I mean, team up and truly find creative solutions to problems that the nonprofits were facing, and those that were actively trying to use the skills that they had gained through Kubrick in a client facing capacity. And in the consulting field, I think that's just a phenomenal attribute to work with. Are individuals and consultants that are not just skilled in the development process, but also very customer centric and client facing. The professionalism that was brought to the table in each client interaction was an amazing opportunity for us to partner and even model for ourselves as we continue to scale projects.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bromley, taking this experience onwards as you go to client site, um, yeah, what has made you excited about the kind of future of your data career as a young data professional, having access to these kinds of projects? Um, kind of what do you think is so important about being able to give back in your data career, and kind of how do you hope to take this mentality forwards as you kind of look to the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, as I briefly mentioned earlier, that part of my degree, in addition to design, is also in sustainability. And so I think my career goal, or my vision of my career goal currently, would be to eventually find a way to migrate into data analysis for, climate monitoring and environmental justice. And that's kind of where my heart lies. And so giving back is always kind of at the top of my brain. And although I knew Kubrick would be a really good place to develop my technical skills, that would be a good launch point for me going forward, I didn't really anticipate having the opportunity to work with something like Prometheus and to be actively giving back this early in my career, which it feels great. It's really exciting. And it's definitely something that I want to keep, at the forefront going forward in my career as well, is that, this is something that's very valuable to me. It's something that's really important to everyone. I mean, technology is agency. It really is. And every little bit goes that much further in the nonprofit community. And just the immeasurable impacts that even a relatively simple program, it might take a dev 2 days to do, but that will have lasting impacts on an organization and a whole community that really just elevates their capabilities to serve their missions. And so to be a part of that this early in my career feels awesome. And it's definitely something that I want to keep up with going forward. I think Prometheus is awesome, and I will always be looking for opportunities to return and do work for you guys.
You're always welcome back. Yeah, and you bring up such a great point, Bromley, of just that ability to give back and partner with organizations where that could have an immeasurable impact. Not on this project, but a different Kubrick project that we worked with. Some of the value of consultants' work was really identifying what was a tech problem, and evaluating the cost and the time needed to stand up given tools. Just giving that amount of expertise and guidance can do such immeasurable help and empowerment, in order to have that organization really jumpstart their digital strategy. In this particular project that I'm referencing, the organization that they were working with thought that they would need to build something from scratch, get new tools, have a huge additional budget that would be required to build something net new. And the Kubrick team was able to identify that they actually had the tools and services already within their organizations to build that out. And so even just that level of consultancy gave them that level of empowerment to really enable a tech strategy.
And I think it's just so crucial. We've in some ways come full circle of the benefits or the highlights of having a cross-sector approach or a multidisciplinary approach. I think when you think about the digital skills gap that's affecting both the private and public sectors, it's true that the nonprofit sector may have less to spend, but that doesn't mean that they're not just as effective. The work is not just as critical, and they're not just as expert in certain fields. It just means that the resource gap can mean focusing critical time and dollars managing outdated tools, time that could otherwise be spent delivering meals, preventing evictions, and addressing learning loss, all services that our nonprofit partners provide. So thinking through how to be complementary, how to be supplementary. And one of the most wonderful things about the partnership with Kubrick, with Bromley, and with the team here is understanding really what it means to put a client first. It's not necessarily about how quickly you can stand up a tool or get from point A to point B, but whether in a data field or in any other field, you're exercising kind of user empathy and ultimately providing a valuable use case for the person or the people on the other end of the phone line. And that was really just wonderful to see in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think talking about that full circle chicken and egg, I mean, one of the projects we did was all about measuring growth of computer science teaching in schools. You know, they're so interlinked. If we don't provide those skills in schools, we won't have the people to measure the impact of such an organization. It's so hard to untangle tech from business problems and not-for-profit problems at this point in time that, yeah, Bromley, you said it phenomenally. Technology is agency, and that's something that we need to be empowering not-for-profits with, especially at this time. This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm going to close out with some final thoughts. How can organizations, individuals, whether not-for-profit, private sector, get involved with yourselves, with kind of the wider community spirit around tech pro bono? What's your kind of advice for anyone interested in getting involved?
Yeah, this actually very much resonates just with the earlier conversation that we had about being secure in your own skill and confident in taking that on. I think, my advice for tech talent is those, regardless of where you're at in your career, learning and development, putting yourself out there in these types of real world experiential learnings is invaluable to grow both those hard skills, but also the way in which employers are really valuing the collaborative work and soft skills of leadership. And so I really think that's also essential to note with nonprofits, that you don't need to necessarily know how technology can solve your problem, but just know that it's out there for your support. I think that's also an essential piece here to have that confidence to take that on and see how resources like Prometheus can really be of benefit from both ends of the spectrum. And in terms of participating, we're always looking to grow our nonprofit network and our tech talent network. And so just definitely encourage everyone to visit our website and get in touch with us.
Absolutely. And we'll put all the links in the descriptions and show notes and everything on our platform, so people will definitely be able to find you. Closing thoughts from Bromley. For someone like yourself a couple years ago with aspirations to get into sustainability or other places, and making that realization that tech and data is the way to do it, what advice would you give to your kind of younger self, kind of making those connections? What do you wish you had known before, and what are some of the first steps that people kind of in your position could take to make that pivot and that jump?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I would just say go for it. I had really, really minimal coding skills before I came to Kubrick. I, had like one semester of front end web development in my, at the end of my college career. But I loved it. And it made me realize that it's something that I should have explored long ago because, I had been so afraid that, oh, my brain doesn't work like that, or I, couldn't possibly learn how to code, but anyone and everyone can and should learn how to code. And the skills are transferable across every industry, every discipline. There's always room for you here, particularly for my ladies looking to get into tech and data. We want you. We need you. Let's do it.
What an amazing note to end on. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Margaret, Victoria, and Bromley for joining me on Kubrick Voices. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I can't wait to share more about our partnership and our projects across Kubrick's channels as well.